Narayanam namaskritya naram cha narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayanti nashtaprayeshu avadreshu nityam bhakta sevaya bhagavati uttam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. Text 19 onwards. Yuyam vivasra yatapo dhritvritam vyagahat hatat tattadu deva helanam padvanjalim murdhane anuttaye ahasaha kritva namo adho vasanam pragriyatam. Lord Krishna said, you girls bathe naked while executing your vow, and that is certainly an offense against the demigods. To counteract your sin, you should offer obeisances while placing your joint palms above your heads. Then you should take back your lower garments. Krishna wanted to see the full surrender of the gopis, and thus he ordered them to offer obeisances with their palms joined above their heads. In other words, the gopis could no longer cover their bodies. We should not foolishly think that Lord Krishna is an ordinary lusty boy enjoying the naked beauty of the gopis. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, and he was acting to fulfill the loving desire of the young cowherd girls of Vrindavan. In this world, we would certainly become lusty in a situation like this. But to compare ourselves to God is a great offense, and because of this offense, we'll not be able to understand Krishna's transcendental position, for we will wrongly take him to be materially conditioned like ourselves. To lose transcendental sight of Krishna is certainly a great disaster for one trying to relish the bliss of the absolute truth. So that is why Shukdev Goswami spent 9 cantos to establish the position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the position of Supreme Personality of Godhead. What does it mean, the Supreme Lord? And now he's trying to describe few pastimes of Krishna. And some of the pastimes where people can misunderstand, so he is describing them properly in a proper perspective, and proper this explaining further, so we don't misunderstand these pastimes. Iti achyute nabhi hitam brajabala matva vivisra palavanam rat achyutam tatapurti kama sadashesha karmanam sakshat kritam nemur vadyam rigyataha. Thus the young girls of Vrindavan, considering what Lord Achyuta had told them, accepted that they had suffered a fall down from their vow by bathing naked in the river. But they still desired to successfully complete their vow. And since Lord Krishna is himself the ultimate result of all pious activities, they offered their obeisances to him to cleanse away all their sins. The transcendental position of Krishna consciousness is clearly described here. The gopis decided that it was better to renounce their so-called family tradition and traditional morality and simply surrender unto the Supreme Lord Krishna. This does not mean that the Krishna consciousness movement advocates immoral activities. In fact, the devotees of ISKCON practice the highest standard of restraint and morality, but at the same time, we recognize the transcendental position of Krishna. Lord Krishna is God and therefore has no material desire to enjoy young girls in sexual affairs. As will be seen in this chapter, Lord Krishna was not at all attracted to enjoying the gopis. Rather, he was attracted to their love and wanted to satisfy them, wanted to fulfill the desires of them having Krishna as their husband. The greatest offense is to imitate the activities of Lord Krishna. In India, there's a group called Prakrit Sahaja who imitate these affairs of Krishna and try to enjoy naked young girls in the name of worshipping Krishna. The ISKCON movement sternly rejects this mockery of religion because the greatest offense is for a human being to ludicrously imitate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the ISKCON movement, there are no cheap incarnations. It's not possible for a devotee of this movement to promote himself to the position of Krishna. So this is what there's a group called, it's called Up Sampradaya actually. So that's called Prakrit Sahajya. So Sahajya means they try to imitate Krishna or imitate the moods of devotees of Krishna or imitate these pastimes of Krishna. And this is what Prabhupada used to say. Why you want to imitate this Ras Leela or Vastra Haran Leela of gopis? Why don't you imitate Govardhan lifting Leela of Krishna? That they cannot do. And once somebody like that went to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Oh, I'm God, he said. He went to the wrong person. So Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj was in his ashram and he asked the cook, there was some cook who was cooking in the kitchen. He said, okay, you bring one burning coal from your kitchen, from your stove. So the cook brought. So Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj told that person, okay, you say you're God. God swallowed the whole forest fire. Why don't you swallow this burning coal and show me how you're God? And obviously, needless to say, that person ran away from there. So we cannot imitate God, first of all. And secondly, we cannot find faults with the pastimes of the Lord. We might not understand them. That's a different story. But we cannot find faults. We can ask a bona fide Acharya to explain these pastimes in the right way, so we can understand them philosophically, properly, according to the real mood of Krishna, why he performed that pastime, that time, in that way. So then we won't commit offense. Otherwise, definitely we will commit offense. 500 years ago, Krishna appeared as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who practiced strict celibacy throughout his student life, and at the age of 24 took sannyas, a lifelong vow of celibacy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rigidly avoided contact with women in order to carry out his vow of loving service to Krishna. When Krishna personally appeared 5,000 years ago, he exhibited these wonderful pastimes, which attract our attention. We should not become envious or shocked when we hear that God can perform such pastimes. Our shock is due to our ignorance, and because if we try to perform these activities, our bodies would be afflicted by lust. Lord Krishna, however, is the supreme absolute truth and is therefore never disturbed by any material desire whatsoever. Thus, this incident in which the gopis gave up normal standards of morality and raising their hands to their head, bowed down in compliance with Krishna's order, is an example of pure devotional surrender, not a discrepancy in religious principles. In fact, the gopi surrender is a perfection of all religion. As Srila Prabhupada describes in Krishnamrita, the gopis were all simple souls, and whatever Krishna said, they took it to be true. In order to be freed from the wrath of Varun Deva, as well as to fulfill the desired end of their vows, and ultimately to please the worshipable Lord Krishna, they immediately abided by his order. Thus they became the greatest lovers of Krishna and his most obedient servitors. So that is why gopis are considered to be topmost in their devotional service, topmost in their surrender. Nothing can compare with the Krishna consciousness of the gopis. Actually, the gopis did not care for Varuna or any other demigod. They only wanted to satisfy Krishna. That's all. That's their mood was, that's the goal was. That's it. Tas tatha vanata drishtva bhagavan devaki sutaha vasan sitabhya prayachat karunastena toshitam. Seeing them bow down like that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, gave them back their garments, feeling compassionate towards them and satisfied by their act. Dridam pralabdhastra payacha yapita trasto bhihita kridan vacha karita vasrani chaivapahritanyatapyamum tat nabhya suyan priya sanga nirvritaha. Although the gopis had been thoroughly cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls, and although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Shri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. Srila Prabhupada comments, this attitude of gopis is described by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he prays, my dear Lord Krishna, you may embrace me or trample me under your feet, or you may make me broken-hearted by never being present before me. Whatever you like, you can do, because you have complete freedom to act. But in spite of all of your dealings, you are my Lord eternally, and I have no other worshipable object. This is the attitude of gopis towards Krishna. And this is what makes Krishna completely controlled by the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. He is completely controlled by their love, by their surrender, by their selfless surrender, actually. Paridhaya so vasansi preshta sangam sajjitaha grihita chittano chelus tasmin lajjayite kshana. The gopis were addicted to associating with the beloved Krishna, and thus they became captivated by him. Thus, even after putting their clothes on, they did not move. They simply remained where they were, shyly glancing at him. By association with their beloved Krishna, the gopis had become more attached to him than ever. Just as Krishna had stolen their clothes, he had also stolen their minds and their love. The gopis interpreted the whole incident as proof that Krishna was also attached to them. Otherwise, why would he have gone to the trouble of playing with them in this way? Because they thought that Krishna was now attached to them, they glanced at him with shyness, and being stunned by the rising of the ecstatic love, they could not move from where they stood. Krishna had overcome their shyness and forced them to come out of the water naked. But now, having dressed properly, they again became shy in his presence. In fact, this incident increased their humbleness before Krishna. They did not want Krishna to see them staring at him, but they cautiously took the opportunity to glance at the Lord. So this is like a sidelong glance. They were looking at the Lord with that. So they were shy, but at the same time, they did not run away from there, and they wanted Krishna's noticing them also. Tasam Vigyaya Bhagavan Swapada Sparsha Kamyaya Dhrit Vritanam Sankalpam Damo Darva Balaha. The Supreme Lord understood the determination of the gopis in executing the strict vow. The Lord also knew that the girls desired to touch his lotus feet, and thus Lord Damodar Krishna spoke to them as follows. So why Krishna's name here is taken as Damodar? Why not straight away Krishna? So Damodar means, as we read from Damodar pastime, Yashoda Maya tied up Krishna by his udar, by his stomach. So Dam means rasi or rope, and udar means a stomach. So she tied up his stomach. So here, gopis actually, they tied up Damodar with their ropes of love. So that's why he is also here known as Damodar, although there is no rope here by which Krishna was tied up. They just tied up by their love. Sankalpo vidita sadhavyo bhavati nam adarchanam maya numodita suvaso satyo bhavitum arhati. Lord Krishna said, "Oh saintly girls," see, he's calling them saintly. And somebody can say, oh, they were just naked before him. No, they were perfect saints. Why? Because they had only one desire to serve Krishna. Oh, saintly girls, I understand that your real motive in this austerity has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved of by me, and indeed it must come to pass. Just as Krishna is free of all impure desires, so are the gopis. Their attempt to gain Krishna as a husband was therefore motivated not by a desire for personal sense gratification, but by their overwhelming desire to serve Krishna and to please him. Because of their intense love, the gopis did not see Krishna as God, but rather as a most wonderful boy in all creation. And being beautiful young girls, they desired only to please him by loving service. Lord Krishna understood the pure desire of the gopis and was thus satisfied. The Lord could certainly not be satisfied by ordinary lust, but he was moved by the intense loving devotion of the cowherd girls of Vrindavan. So, ordinary materially lusty people or material lust cannot attract Krishna. He is Atmaram. But this is the love, surrender, devotion of the gopis, which is very, very pure. And that's why he got attracted by gopis. Na maya veshit dhyam kama kamaya kalpate bharjita kakvatita dhana prayo bijaya neshate. The desire of those who fix their minds on me does not lead to material desire for sense gratification. Just as barley corns burned by the sun and then cooked can no longer grow into new sprouts. See? So there is no material desire for sense gratification whenever it comes to Krishna. The words Maya Aveshita Dhyam are very significant here. Unless one has achieved an advanced degree of devotion, one cannot fix the mind and intelligence on Krishna. Since Krishna is pure spiritual existence, self-realization is a state not of desirelessness, but rather of purified desire, wherein one desires only the pleasure of Lord Krishna. The gopis were certainly attracted to Krishna in a mood of conjugal love, and yet, having fixed their minds and indeed their entire existence completely on Krishna, their conjugal desire could never manifest as material lust. Rather, it became the most exalted form of love of God had ever seen within the universe. See, they are so exalted, these gopis. It is a most exalted form of love of God had ever seen within the whole universe, or maybe within the whole creation, we can say. Of course, here it is said universe because this pastime was performed here on earth, but again, the earth is Gokul Vrindavan is not different from spiritual world. So this is a topmost form of love of Krishna. Yata bala vrajam siddha mayema ransyat kshapaha yaduddishya vratamidam cheruryarchanam satihi. Go now, girls, and return to Vraj. Your desire is fulfilled, for in my company you will enjoy the coming nights. After all, this was the purpose of a vow, to worship Goddess Katyayani, a pure-hearted one. So they are really the pure-hearted, no material lust at all in their hearts. And Krishna said, now, very soon, you will enjoy my company in the coming nights. Shri Shukvacha Ityadishta Bhagavata Labda Kama Kumarika Dhyayantyastat Padam Bhojam Krichra Nir Vivishur Vrajam. Shukdev Goswami said, thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, The young girls, their desire now fulfilled, could bring themselves only with great difficulty to return to the village of Vraj, meditating all the while upon his lotus feet. The gopis' desire was fulfilled because Lord Krishna had agreed to act as a husband. A young girl can never spend the night with any man except her husband. And thus, when Krishna agreed to engage the girls in the nocturnal rasa dance during the coming autumn season, in effect, he was agreeing to reciprocate their love for him in the role of a husband. See, in Ram Leela, Lord Ram had taken the vow of Ekapatni Vrata, that I'll only accept one wife, Sita. Although he was a Kshatriya, a king, he could have accepted more than one, but he said, no, only one wife. So many devotees at that time, some were, as we read in Dandakaranya, the Munis were there, and when they saw Ram in the forest, they were completely captivated by the beauty of Ram. So they approached him with that, like the conjugal mood. We are developing this desire. Lord Ram said, well, first of all, I have taken this vow of Ekpatni Vrata. Well, when I come as Krishna, I'll accept you all as my wives. So they took birth again in Krishna Leela. So they were, that group of gopis were called Muni Chari gopis. Muni, those were Muni in Ram Leela. So they became gopis. So similarly, Vedas, they also wanted to become gopis. So they called Shruti Chari gopis. And similarly, so many others, they were attracted by the beauty of Lord Ram, beauty and his qualities. So they all were given, if they had this kind of mood, so they were all given a chance in Krishna Leela. So Krishna Leela, Krishna had to fulfill their desires. This is what Krishna does. He always fulfills the desires of his devotees. Yes, paritranaya sadhuna vinasha dushkritam, all this is also true, but at the same time, he fulfills the desires of his devotees, spiritual desires. So here Krishna is fulfilling their desire. Of course, that stealing their garments and making them surrender was a part of purification. So they were now purified, fully surrendered. So Krishna said, I'll give you my company the forthcoming nights. At gopa parivrito Bhagavan Devaki Sutta Vrindavana gato duram charyan ga saha agrajaha. Sometime later, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, surrounded by his cowherd friends and accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, went a good distance away from Vrindavan, herding the cows. Having described how Lord Krishna stole the garments of the young gopis, Shukdev Goswami now begins introducing the description of Lord Krishna's blessings upon the wives of some ritualistic Brahmins. So Dvijapatani is going to bless them now. निद अघार का तपेतिक में छाया भी स्वाभिरात्मना आतपत्राय तान्वीक्ष्य द्रुमान व्रजोकसः. When the sun's heat became intense, Lord Krishna saw that the trees were acting as umbrellas by shading him, and thus he spoke as follows to his boyfriends. He Stoka Krishna, he Anshu, Shri Daman Subalarjuna, Vishala Vrishabho Jaswin, Deva Prastha Varuthapa, Pashyatatan Mahabhaga, Paratha Kanta Jivita, Vatavarshatapa, Himan, Sahanto Variantina. Lord Krishna said, O Stok Krishna and Anshu, O Shridam, Subal, Arjun, O Vishal, Vrishab, Ojasvi, Devaprastha and Varuthapa. Just see these greatly fortunate trees whose lives are completely dedicated to the benefit of others. Even while tolerating the wind, rain, heat, and snow, They protect us from these elements. Lord Krishna was preparing to bestow his mercy on the wives of the hard-hearted ritualistic Brahmins. And in these verses, the Lord indicates that even trees who are dedicated to the welfare of others are superior to Brahmins or not. Certainly, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement should soberly study this point. So, although Krishna said, while tolerating the wind, rain, heat, and snow, I don't know, in Vrindavan, in home of Vrindavan, it doesn't snow, but I don't know about Golok Vrindavan. Aho esham varam janma sarva prani upajivanam sujannasyeva yesham vimukha yanti narthina. Just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. The birth is successful. The behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. So this is from Prabhupada's translation. So these trees are like great personalities. And anyone who asks anything from a tree, of course, whatever tree can give, he never goes away disappointed. Tree is always given. Even people come and cut off the wood and the branches and the leaves and take away flowers and fruits, they don't retaliate. So wonderful description of trees, and we'll discuss it tomorrow. We'll continue with this tomorrow. Then stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.